Selamun alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. We will inshallah continue with the 18th word, which is in my book, it's page 240, but in different version it could be 239 or 241, I guess. The first point we started last week, I guess we studied the first paragraph. Inshallah, we will continue with the second paragraph and then maybe the second point. But before that, is there anyone who does not mind to share us what she or he remembers from the last week, just to summarize so that, we remember things just as a reminder?
Okay, my mind is all over the place, but from what I remember, we were discussing about how we can teach our spirit, our soul, from what we discussed last time. And it was also about how we are going to use our free will, which was really important from what I remember, and how we can use that on a very rough. I'm trying to read again just to refresh myself also. But if anybody wants to add further, please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Jazakallah. The way I remember, so at least what stayed in my mind, is our lives, or at least my life, is full of instantaneous, bounded by minutes or sometimes hours, or at most years, pleasures coming from some so-called achievements of mine. Like I see myself, I find myself in situations in which people celebrating me, or people sharing their good feelings about me. Or sometimes I'm alone, I find myself being proud of things, which gives me a pleasure. But there's no, there's no reason to lie, which gives me a pleasure. But these kind of achievements, or the pleasure I get from these achievements, as I said at the beginning, they usually bounded by the time. And maybe worse than this is when I have a problem, when I have to face with a problem in my present day, these past achievements or the pleasures they got from them, they don't help me at all. They are not there anymore. As Nursi was saying, they are nullified, they are destroyed. They cannot help me anymore. I have these pleasures, I have these problems that I have to solve now, but I have nothing with me. Even sometimes these pleasures or these achievements, my past achievements, they become a source of stress for me. Like I have a problem in front of me, I have to solve, right? No one else but I. And then I said, yes, in past, I used to able to solve such problems. But by then I was younger. Like I had a better mind, I had a higher intellectual, let's say. Now I'm getting old. So am I going to, able to solve it again? Or all these achievements in my mind, they define some norms, like personal norms for me. Like, Birkan, you have to do it. You can do it. Do it, Birkan. So they become a source of suffering slowly. As I more rely on them, they become bigger suffering for me. And when I look for help, they are not there. Again, they are nullified, destroyed.
What is it that becomes suffering for you?
this anxiety that I have to do it, I have to solve it, just like I did it before. It's on my shoulders. Whatever problem I have, if I have a family issue, for instance, it's me that I have to solve this issue. Because I did it in the past, and now, just like the past, I have to do it. So, before it was a source of pleasure, enjoyment, now it's a source of anxiety. Everything you achieve, maybe metaphorically speaking, maybe literally, everything you achieve become a load on your shoulders. You have to carry them. You have to be the man who used to achieve all these things. Your self-expectations, the others' expectations about you, mostly self-expectations, I guess. And then interestingly, the verses that we read at the beginning, let me repeat, if you don't mind. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. Think not that those who exalt in what they have thus contrived, and who love to be praised for what they have done, have not done, and who love to be praised for what they have not done. Think not that they will escape from suffering, for grievous suffering does await them. So before continuing, there's a question from Qasim. He says, can we elaborate on what we mean by it gives me a sense of pleasure? Usually pleasure comes from having a particular feeling or desire fulfilled, in my opinion, he adds. And then he says, what desire is being fulfilled when we attribute things, success, towards our own self? To be honest, I haven't thought in such a formalized way. Like person like me, I guess I lived a life without much thinking. I achieved something, I have success, and I'm proud of it. I think I can manage these things. I think I have power. I think I have control over things. And this understanding, this feeling, gives me the pleasure. I guess I have a desire to control things, maybe, I don't know. Any other ideas? Yusuf, why do you get pleasure when you succeed, when you achieve something?
I don't know. I guess I even don't need to achieve something, because even if you start praising me, and I know that it's a lie, still I'm going to enjoy it. For example, you start telling me how beautiful my sound is.
Which is true.
So that you see. And that I can sing very beautiful songs, whatever. Although I know that it would be a total lie, I would have a tendency to believe in it. I would love to believe in it, and I would enjoy this totally unrealistic praise. I don't know why, but it is there.
And then next moment, when you want to have a beautiful voice, when you think you need to have a beautiful voice, like all these the praise becomes source of anxiety for you. Because you know that you don't have the voice. I mean, you have, don't get me wrong. But I don't know, any other ideas, any other elaborations?
Sorry, I'm out the airport, so you guys might hear some background noise. But I think what happens is, because we're often looking to, I guess, find things that we can attribute to words, and we often, I guess, are not as mindful to find, I guess, the true source. So whenever we notice someone else or ourselves attribute essentially, the cause of something to ourselves, to our, I guess, to our efforts, and the success that's achieved, or any form of, I guess, accomplishment, we feel that we've essentially closed the loop. We feel that we've essentially found the source and we've attributed to its rightful, I guess, owner or rightful source. And then essentially, I think there's a sense of that sense of completion result in this, I guess, fulfillment, which perhaps gives me the sense of pleasure.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you. I guess the important part here, at least from my side, is seeing that most of the anxieties we have today, like in our present day, or the problem, the depressions, the suffering, I don't know how you want to call, in Quran language, our Maker calls it as suffering, goes back to our so-called achievements, the successes. Because, I guess mostly because of the expectations they do, because of the false self-image that we have, it increases the gap inside us, and we have to feel it. Every time we think we achieve something, I guess next moment we need more of it. As Nursi was saying, we get addicted. It gives us this, again, momentary pleasure, but then the addiction is bigger than the pleasure. And when I read the verses, it's so interesting. When my creator or maker tells me that the grievous suffering awaits them, I take it as, okay, whoever is talking there knows me. Like, I am in the suffering, state of suffering. So he gains my, the trust. So I don't think, at least to me, I don't hear it as like a threat, like I will punish you. For me, it's more like gaining my trust. This is you, Birhan. You are suffering. I know that. And then he gives an interesting recipe. He says, who love to be praised for what they have not done? Like, yes, there is an achievement in front of me. There is something solved. There is a success. I can experience it. But there was a problem, now it's solved. My friend needed help, and I helped him. So his car was broken, I broke it further, right? So there was an achievement in front of my eyes. I can experience it. But he says, because it was not you, the source of this achievement. Like, it was not you that shouldered the load. So you don't have to shoulder it again, because it's me. It was me, now it's me again. You don't have to rely on yourself, which is weak and powerless. Rely on me. At least that's what remains in my mind from last week's discussion. There are some comments, let me read, and then we can continue reading if you want. From Hatice, I guess, Beyza, yes, Hatice Beyza. She says, I wonder if all types of praises and accomplishments we attribute to ourselves become a way of trying to attribute inherent value to ourselves. So the pleasure, the desire from attributing something to myself comes from feeling valuable and worthy at that moment. But then it gives me a pain because I know I'm not the source. I cannot sustain it. I guess, at least for me, this is a very beautiful summary. And Qasim says, that's an interesting point. It makes sense to me. I guess he refers to Hatice Beyza, because I don't think he would love what I said. So probably he's referring to Hatice Beyza. So if there are no other comments, we can continue. Or
I have a question actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
It might be like out of topic, but so when you take ownership of these decisions, then it becomes a huge weight on you. So we need to understand that Allah is the one behind this, and He's the one that's, I guess, doing everything. But at the same time, there's free will, and you need to make decisions in life. And you can't just sit down and say, okay, Allah, make this decision for me. You need to make that decision. And how do you then put those two together? Like, I don't want to make a decision because I don't know what the right answer is. And I still need to think about it, and I need to somehow find a decision, and that puts weight on me. It puts burden on me. And how can I somehow give this decision to Allah and not feel that burden?
Yusuf, you want to? Oh, there's someone else. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I was just going to say that the way I usually try to understand this for myself is perhaps like going to a restaurant, and the decision is entirely ours essentially. So I get to choose what I want. Do I want the fries? Do I want the burger? But I do not create the thing, right? So essentially, there's a difference between, I guess, choosing and creating essentially, I guess, a result of the choice. Using that restaurant analogy, like I'm not creating anything, right? I'm simply choosing from what's available, and I cannot choose outside of anything. I guess outside anything, but it's from what's available. So I guess the same way in life, we're presented with opportunities or choices, and we employ one, and the result of that choice is essentially created by not myself.
I guess what gives us the burden or becomes load is the idea of controlling the consequences of decision. Otherwise, making decisions is like free, right? You just make decisions and it happens or it does not happen. But once you start contributing, as Carson was saying, attributing the creation of the consequences on your shoulder, because the future, like what comes after the decision, is dark for you. You cannot see it. Even if you can see it, you cannot control it. So when you start thinking about the consequences, when you start thinking about the creating them, controlling them, you know that you cannot do it. So I guess this attributing the creatorship to yourself becomes a burden. Otherwise, I guess you are a human with your free will. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't make decisions. It means you shouldn't attribute what is being created to yourself. Like, I want to be successful. Not that, I don't want to be successful. I want to be successful. But when I start, thinking that it's me who has to arrange everything on the path of being successful, or it is my success which will sustain my future. If that's the reason I want to be successful, then it becomes a burden for me. I don't know, maybe I misremember, but last week Faraz was saying, we shouldn't deny the success or the achievement itself. It is in front of us, it's there, we experience the pleasure. But this feeling of the pleasure that we shouldn't attribute to ourselves. I didn't create this pleasure. Where did it come from? We usually take it as granted. I achieved something, and this achievement created my pleasure. So if I want more pleasure, I have to create other achievements. I guess it becomes problematic.
What if, when there's an achievement, you feel happy and you attribute to yourself, but that's wrong. So if there's a failure, can I not attribute it to myself? Can I say it's out of my hands? But I guess that goes into like muddy waters though, because at what point are you responsible for your decisions?
I guess at every point you are responsible from your decisions. But you are responsible from your decisions.
The consequences of your decisions though. When are you responsible about the consequences?
I don't know, I guess it's all depends on how would you define the consequences. I don't know if it is tangential to the topic or not.
It's kind of out of topic.
I don't know this because as we will come to the end of this section, still the author is going to fine-tune the role of free will more and more. I guess as we go deeper in there, which we should, the fine-tuning is always going to be there. Because, for example, if we talk about real examples, say killing someone. So I am choosing to take the trigger and shoot the person. So yeah, I'm not creating the death, but my intention was to kill this person. And for sure I know that. Maybe I missed the guy, or maybe I hit the guy and the guy didn't die in the hospital, or maybe he died, but because he was died, his family was ruined as well. I mean, these are all different possible outcomes. So, but what is on my shoulders? So I guess it very much depends on what was my intention, what was my purpose when I'm doing that. And this is what will be on my shoulders, because I really willed doing it. And if it was not one person, I would kill 100% as well. I mean, if I was really willing to kill this person because I was taking it as a threat to my life, I mean, if the same threat was put on my shoulders by 100 people, I would kill 100 people. I didn't have this choice at that point. It was only one person which was suggested to me, or this was my choice at that point. So this is why I guess there are this sort of verse which says killing one person is like killing the whole humanity, for instance. If I'm doing it, and this is one of the ways to interpret this verse, because of my intention, I am just, this person is coming against my ego and I don't want this person to exist anymore. This is why I'm killing it. Maybe this person doesn't die or 100 people dies, but the point is, when I am making the choice, this is what really is my choice. And as a result of it, its consequences, this is another issue. It is not within my shoulders. But from my perspective, or from point of my choice, my free will, it is as if I'm killing the whole humanity, because this was my intention. I would do it if I was asked to kill the whole humanity. The same choice, the same mindset would say, okay, no, it doesn't matter. Let's kill the whole humanity. It doesn't matter. So I guess it's more about when it comes to this taking the responsibility part. When I'm making this choice, how is my ego situated in there? Because my ego says, I can't take this guy's life. This becomes the burden that I guess Gökhan was talking about. Then it becomes, this is what weighs on me, as if I have the right to take somebody's life away, or as if to give somebody life, whatever, as if I am within such a condition. But we are generally more focused on the consequences of it, how many people are killed, if the family is ruined, whatever. But I guess we should more focus on what is my state of mind when I'm making this choice. And a consequence of this would be to kill the whole humanity, because this is what my ego wants to do it, if it has the chance.
And this is what stays with us, this mindset. In our daily lives, the situations changes, constantly changes. And the consequences, we forget about that. Like, I have to write a grant proposal, right? And I'm in the process of, generating ideas. I have to generate ideas, I have to write them. The grant itself will disappear in a month at most. Once I publicly submit it, I will not even remember it. But the mindset I had, like, I am the one who generates the ideas. I am the one who writes them elegantly. This mindset will be with me. When I have a new problem in front of me, this mindset will be a load on my shoulder. Not the grant. Who cares about the grant? I wouldn't even remember it. But this attribution to myself, being, enjoying to be praised with what I wrote, by me or by others, it will be with me as a load, not as a pleasure anymore.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So this is from one part of the reading that we did last week, where the sentence on the second page, 240, says, although out of your incapacity you have transformed good into evil, you as though act as partners to your creator. So what I understand here is, even if I do nothing, right, that in itself can cause me to make a wrong decision. Like if you are the captain of a ship and if you decide not to steer one way or another, even if the rest of the crew is doing their job correctly, by steering it or not steering it, you are responsible for the crash or the sinking of the ship. So I was thinking, another example, what if I'm like a mail carrier and I have been given the responsibility to deliver a package from point A to point B, and I know that the package I did not make the package, I did not prepare it, it's not from me. My responsibility is simply just transporting it from point A to point B and giving it to the person it's meant to go to. In this example, I know that if I don't do anything, if I just sit there, then I transform that. I don't fulfill my duty, and it becomes a sort of evil in a sense. And if I give the gift to myself, the box or something, then that's also a problem because I'm not the actual sender. So my responsibility is to send it to the person it's meant to be sent to. So there's a trust. My question is, I have a responsibility there to transport the goods from point A to point B. And if I do that correctly, is there no merit in it? And I understand that, perhaps I'm not the one, because it goes down to like free will and the ability to choose freely. Because if I do it wrong, then I know it's from me, right? If I don't transport the package properly to the correct destination. But if I do it, then to the degree that I am responsible. So if I'm at the restaurant, to the degree that I choose the correct thing to order from the restaurant, I don't choose the greasy foods. I pick something healthy. I choose the correct choice. Is there no merit in this at all? And if so, then I feel like as though, do I even have free will? If my thought process just goes there. I'm sorry if that was a bit confusing. Yeah.
Anyone? That was a tough question for me.
So just to clarify, your question is your free will, is there some merit in having the free will? Because the free will is also given to us, as I understand. And let's say the example of the postman carrying the packages, the ability also is given to the postman to carry the packages. Granted that the packages are not made by the whatever who's carrying the packages or do the delivery, but still the recognition of, the cognition of, okay, this package goes where, and then following the order using our legs, our hands, whatever, all these are given to us, right? So I know like somebody said earlier about attributing creatorship to oneself becomes a burden. So I was thinking about how does that become a burden? Because all these abilities, if we think that these abilities are ours, are we able to sustain those abilities? Are we able to keep the ability to walk, the ability to move our hands the way we are doing? We are using our free will, which is also given. And that's the point, that the free will, how are we using that to attribute whatever this ability is to? What do we attribute that to?
Okay, I guess my question lies in the ability to make a right choice. So the mailman or the mail carrier recognizes that their uniform, their ability to, their consciousness, everything has been given to them. But if the ability to also make the right choice has been given to them, then what exactly is their responsibility? It almost feels like their free will has been taken away from them. I mean, is there no, to the degree that they are responsible and they make the correct choice, is there no merit in that? Simply what they are responsible for. Yes, recognizing the fact that everything to make whatever correct choice possible is given to them, but still they could have corrupted it, right? So they made the correct choice. So is there no merit in this? And if there is, then I don't know, how do you reconcile free will with not attributing anything to yourself, I guess, is another way of wording it.
I don't know if this will answer your question, but I feel that any merit that may exist in doing, in choosing correctly, to use that word for lack of better language, I think would be the ease and satisfaction it gives me and that I find in myself when I make that choice, when I fulfill a certain duty in the sense of the example that you gave of the mail carrier delivering a package. I think the merit is just the feeling of, again, satisfaction I find in myself in having used my human qualities in a way that is not alien to me or that does not induce suffering or anxiety to me.
Okay, that makes more sense to me, I think. Thank you.
Oh, Faraz, I guess you tried to speak at one moment. If you want to say something, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I was just thinking to myself that just to make things more manageable for myself, I was thinking, why don't we think of the agent or the actor, me or someone, as someone who has already done something. And now I'm thinking about this matter where my, let's say, initial interpretation of myself in this world is that I did something. And the verse comes and says, you take or expect praise for something you have not done. So before we think about the general sort of matter of, generally about free will and responsibility and how they gel, perhaps we can just focus on, here is me. Do I feel like I'm doing something, whatever? And I would think many of us would say yes, because otherwise, how is their action? How is their, you are thinking, you are doing this, I'm doing this, I'm talking. Okay, so that's my first impression. This impression, as far as I'm breathing, maybe doesn't affect, is not apparent, immediately whether I don't expect praise for breathing, although in a deeper sense, my existence, I think, is valuable because, but that's different. So let's think of something that's more easily, we can think of, I do something that I more easily find praiseworthy, just to relate myself to the verse. So for example, I say, I love X, I love my child, I love my mother, I'm hardworking, whatever, something that's more easily relatable as something I would find understandable to want praise for. And then let's think about that action. Let's say I think of that action in the past or in the present, not in the future. Let's say I've done something and it did happen or it does happen that I think I have done it. And I think what I have done, I deserve praise for it. as Khadija Beza was talking about merit, is there merit? And, I was singing merit for whom? Whose merit is it? There is merit, but the question that the verse, it seems, is posing is, makes sense if the addressee, me, had a different idea. And it seems to be that I think I've done something, which is when, if it's praiseworthy, I say, yeah, it is, I deserve praise for it. And the verse is contradicting that initial feeling. That's why the verse is understandable, because I can relate to it, because my default situation is that I think I did something that deserves praise. Now the question the verse is asking is, who is doing it? You claim that, as if the addressee, it is assuming, or it is suggesting that you who is reading this, there's many things that are praiseworthy and you think you deserve praise for them. And that you want praise for them, and it is saying, and you did not do them. And I have to ask there, the question is there, did I do them or did I not do them? And so what I've not done, and I guess for me the question is, what share do I have in bringing a praiseworthy quality into existence? I say I love my child. And if you ask me, okay, you love? I say, yeah, I feel I love my child. Okay, can you look at yourself and say that you brought love into existence? You brought it into existence in yourself. You own this quality. You have any share in what is praiseworthy in this action, what is love. I love my child, so I deserve praise. Why? Because I love my child. So what is praiseworthy is love. So what share do I have in this love? And so the question is if I say I do have a share in bringing this love into existence on myself, in myself, I have any power, any share, any knowledge in bringing love into existence? And if not, then I have not done it. I have not loved when I thought I have loved. Let's talk about the past. So it's saying, when I thought I had loved, that was very good, very good interpretation of myself without revelation. That was excellent. That was very honest of me to say, yeah, I love. And then revelation comes, yeah, exactly. I am speaking to you who I've created, who I know finds it very, when you don't question what is the reality of these things, when you don't know the reality of things, you say you did something and you deserve praise for it, of course. But now think you didn't do it. Or try to come to affirm that you did not bring this into existence. What is praiseworthy? Let's say your loving action to your someone. And what would you say then when you did not do something, if you accept you did not do it? So as long as I feel I have some share in bringing it into existence, that I did something to bring it into existence. And the verse is as if saying, no, it came into existence. Now you can either acknowledge the case, the reality, or you may not acknowledge the reality. And when you acknowledge the reality, you do it for your own self. You're not going to help reality. You're not going to help anyone or do anyone a favor. But you will either acknowledge this reality for your own good, for your own sake, because that the way you are, your heart or your whoever your human being that you are, you will acknowledge the reality that you did not do it, or you would say, no, I did it. I made love. I have power to bring love into existence. I have power to bring wisdom into existence. These are my qualities that I have, and I use them at will and bring them into being in whatever degree I wish. If somebody were to say this, and somebody was able to say that this is their experience, that they are, have some share, any share at all, then they would have a question of, yeah, there's a confusion about where the merit goes, how much merit goes where. But once I say, if to bring these praiseworthy qualities in existence to which in a state of before revelation, I was ready to claim credit for, some credit for, I find that I did not do it at all. I have no share in this quality's existence. I have no knowledge of it, no control over it, no power, nothing. I found it. I found it done by somebody else other than me. I found it done by somebody else. This acknowledgement is for me, and it is therefore that after this step, I don't come back to myself, because I am no longer the focus. I didn't do anything, so why should I think about me? I should start now. I do start thinking about the doer. And who is the doer? What is the doer? What is due to the doer of the action? That's what I think. So if I then start to say, but what do I deserve? It means I haven't yet really fully settled on the idea that I have absolutely no doing in this doing. I am not the doer at all. Because if I'm not the doer at all, then all the questions afterwards cannot be about me. I'm not the doer. I'm talking about what is due to the doer, and I'm not the doer. So there is no question of what merit or something remains to me after, if I think about what or who did the action that I thought I did. So it's easier to think of the past. If I can understand a past case, then I can generalize it and know, even if I don't experience it out of my forgetfulness or whatever, that all future actions, the reality of those, my acting, will be in the same way. If I can make sense of a case that already happened, then I can generalize to that in the future, when I say I will act, or when I think about me acting, or when I say I will do something, I will have a description of that doing, or a possibility of interpreting that doing as me, not the doer at all, but rather as the receiver or the witness of another's action, in which case my questions and my interests will be all about who is this doer, and what does this kind of action tell me about this doer, and what is due to this doer. And so I don't know if that speaks to what people were speaking about, but that's what came to my mind in thinking about the verse and praise for what they did not do or they do not do. And I think I have to really ask myself if I actually experience and confirm that claim, that what the action that I definitely think I did, but when I question it and say, did I actually do it? Then when I start thinking about it, what is doing it involved? Did I bring it into being? Do I have control or ownership over it? Do I have knowledge of it? Then I start to understand that it only appears to be my doing, but actually I did not do it at all. So there is no question to be asked about what is due or meritorious or etc. about someone who hasn't done it. All questions now become about who has done it, what has done it. I was trying to bring back to the text of the thing. I don't know if inshallah, we can come back.
I just want to thank you, Brother Faraz, for that, because so my question essentially was, is there any merit for intending to do the right thing, just for the intending part? But now I can say no, because even in the ability to intend, that has been given to me. And since I have no share in the existence of the ability to intend, I have no merit. And in order for me to, I guess, intend in the right way, I must first be able to intend, just the ability to intend, and this ability to intend has been given to me. So I guess the problem with the question that I was asking was, I was thinking of my free will as independent of the creator or having been created. So thank you, Jazakallah khair, for that. That was very helpful.
Somebody else wanted to say something, I guess, and FM8, I assume it's Farhan. Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the questions and the comments. This is just trying to be brief here, but one possibility is that, going to what Brother Faraz was saying, that you can, so here's what I think about it, that, you know, I mean, I have a role, in some sense, I have a share, and this is not saying that this is the right answer, but this is where I'm currently at. I think that in some sense, I do think that there is a role I have to play, and in that sense, although the words sound confusing, there is a share of sorts of my own existence in the becoming of the universe. So I have a role to play, but 100% of the part of me which has a role to play is completely determined by God himself. So God determines me and I determine stuff, but it's not that I am anything other than what God has determined for me. So if he gave me the energy and the quwwah, you know, when you say, so I mean, he gave me the power and I did it. If he didn't give me the power, I won't be able to do it. So that's one way I think about it. And that includes the other thing which I was thinking about, perhaps it may clarify, is that what notion of causality do you have in mind? For example, if you think in terms of counterfactuals, basically, instead of thinking, am I here or not? Ask yourself the following question. What would have happened if you did not do what you did? Would this thing still have occurred? And if you think that the answer is no, that, you know, things would still have happened in a certain way. If it was not me, somebody else would have done it. Then the idea there is that, you know, then that idea becomes far more clear, you know, that basically I am just a mechanism and I'm disposable, basically, for anything to happen. And so those are the two things I just wanted to mention right now without going into more details. Thank you.
Before going to more details, by the way, thank you for all these comments. They're really making the discussion more valuable. I realized that we already spent like 1 hour. We haven't even read the text. So it was my fault. Sorry for that. I should have reminded at the beginning. And I'm saying that not to, you know, just for the sake of reading the text, but I realized that the paragraph that we will read, it will actually give answer from Nursi's understanding, of course, either you follow or not, but it's another option. Let's read the paragraph. Let's read the second paragraph till the second point. Oh, since we don't have much time, Dr. Rahman, do you want to read it without asking others? Like, just to be quick.
And do not say, I am in place of manifestation.
No, sorry. Yes, you in my body resemble nature.
Yes, you in my body resemble nature in the world. Both of you are created to receive good and be the thing to which evil is referred. That is to say, you are not the agent and source, but the recipient and passive. You have only an effect, and that is being the cause of evil because you did not accept, as you should have done, a good arising from absolute good. Also, you were both created as veils, so that things that are apparently ugly, whose beauty is not obvious, would be attributed to you, and you would be means of the most holy divine essence, being acknowledged free of defect. But you have taken on a form entirely contrary to the duty of your natures. Although out of your incapacity you have transformed good into evil, you as though act as partners to your Creator. That means one who worships himself and worships nature is extremely foolish and perpetrates a great wrong. And do not say, I am a place of manifestation, and one who manifests beauty becomes beautiful. For since you have not assimilated it, you are not a place of manifestation, but a place of passage. And do not say, among people I was chosen. These fruits, these fine works, are shown through me. That means I have some merit. No, God forbid. Rather, they were given to you first because you are more bankrupt, needy, and sad than everyone else.
So, in the light of what we just read, we can continue discussing. You want to say something about it? You usually thinking, or you want to? Oh, okay. Sorry. I just don't want to, miss anyone. So, okay, then, right. Go ahead. No? Okay. So if you let me say what I understand from here, together with what, after all these discussions as well, is that, so first of all, like, this is just personal idea. I don't want to, solve a problem myself. Because when I try this, it gives me suffering. I already experienced that. Like when I try to solve my problems by doing things. Either it's prayer, it's either studying, reading, I don't know. But if it's me doing something, if it's me achieving something, it gives me pleasure, the anxiety. So personally, I don't want to take this path, as much as I can. Like, I want to be away from this path as much as I can. That's one thing. So what does it mean? Last week, Faraz was saying something to me. I might misunderstood it. So in advance, I'm sorry. So do not attribute anything to Faraz if I say something nonsense. But there is a big difference between like understanding or trying to interpreting my experiences through my own glasses, coming up with theories, explanations, say this is related to that, therefore it happens, or it has to happen. This kind of attitude, I guess, takes me back to the path that Birkan, you have to solve. You have to come up with explanation. It should be really good. Another alternative, I guess, what Nus is suggesting here, is being guided. Birkan, you have a problem in front of you. Let's see what your maker tells you about this problem. Right? If you think the speech is from your maker, then it should guide you. And going back, so I'm like, in light of this distinction, like I'm personally choosing the second one, and asking my maker, like, what is the source of my problem? How am I going to, get rid of it? Or how are you going to put me in a state which doesn't have this problem? Help me, guide me. understand, not that I give an explanation. You give me an explanation, and I will check if it makes sense or not, if it fits to me, to my heart. So for instance, going back to love example the Faraz was giving, my maker in the verse, he does not deny the love. The first part who says, who exalt in what they have does contrive. So it doesn't deny that something being contrived. He doesn't deny that something being achieved. So love is there. I love my brother, like you love your sister, you love your son, wife. Love is there. I enjoy this love. The verse does not deny that. The love is there, you enjoy it, yes. He doesn't say, do not enjoy it. Who dare you enjoy it? It's my love. He doesn't say that. He says the love was not created by you. Enjoyment was not created by you. Continue enjoying it. Continue get the pleasure. Realize that the love is there. Find the source of the love. Be thankful. As Musi was saying last week, right? Your duty is being thankful, nothing else. Get the pleasure from the love. Get the pleasure from the fact that you are being given the love, which is a bigger pleasure, which means somebody loves you, giving you love, like your pleasure becoming more and more. Once you start reading in names or in the name of Him, Bismillah, it becomes multiplied. Barakah. Right? There is barakah in Bismillah. That's what we say. So when you do not attribute the love to yourself, it becomes multiplied. You experiencing the love. There is someone in your life, your son, your sister, your brother, your wife, which is worthy of love. There is someone who loves you, giving you, creating you in this experience. And when you need love in another moment, you know who to turn. You don't have to rely on yourself. There's no end, multiplied, right? Constantly. So again, it is not denying the love. It's saying, let the love being attributed to the right source so that you do not suffer when you need the love. So I guess what I understood from here, going back to merit question, yes, there's a merit in this situation, there's a merit. But this merit as well goes back to source of the love. Another source of bounty. Now the one who gives me love is worthy of the, being praised. So my maker, it's not just a maker, he has a merit. So, yes, I guess then my maker tells me that this is your situation, you are suffering because you are attributing it to yourself. There's, again, what I understand. So, love is there, merit is there to us to enjoy, to us to contemplate maybe, but not to us for attributing ourselves. That's the distinction, as far as I see.
Can I ask a question? Okay. What is so grievous about this suffering? And do we feel it?
Any examples that you can give first? Oh, Faraz, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Burkan, for sharing your thoughts. It was, for some reason, I really like when you speak. I feel I'm, alhamdulillah, benefiting and just, you speak slow and allows me to contemplate and think of myself. The creator of love is praiseworthy. It's not just me doing it. So I was going to say something that it relates to Brother Zafar's comment. also, because the paragraph we just read, it says there is something that I am capable of doing to myself, one could say, is evil, the cause of evil. And what is it? So the English sentence says, what is, why, in what sense am I cause of evil? Which is again, to me, this cause of evil for whom? I should ask, for myself. So the suffering question, it is me, my having this attitude will lead me to suffer. That is the nature of existence. And what that attitude is, that is, I am capable of taking on, capable of choosing, is to not accept. So again, it is simply, again, by not accepting that the good that I loved, and you use the quality of love, we can use beauty, any other thing, the good that arose, that good is any good quality, good action is good because it has these qualities. So we understand that we are talking about good qualities. That's what makes something good. So if I've done good, it's something good that has been done. So the evil, it comes from not accepting that it comes from absolute good. I think this is a very important word, a very important consideration, a very important guidance. Again, I go back to, I completely agree with what you said. There is one mode of thinking which is speculative. There is endless speculations I can engage in. And there is one in which I am before revelation, before this verse, before other things that claim to be revelation, and saying to my maker, you guide me. And under this guidance, I will interpret. And then I will either see, accept or reject it. So in that sense, here, he's saying that my maker, or the maker of this world, is absolute, and I need to see that my love of, or this love that I experience of my child, or something beautiful that I see, this beauty and this recognition of beauty arises from absolute good. What is absolute? So again, under the guidance of the Quran, again, one doesn't go into philosophical speculation about how to define absolute. Is it possible to define absolute? What is absolute? But in the Quran, it speaks to the human being. It says, it is talking about the undying one, the ever-living one. So it means that thing has, one of them is this idea of never ending. The other idea of absolute, not having any limitation or limit or fault. So no, how should you say, blemish, no lack. So we understand that, for example, a quality of beauty, first of all, how beautiful can it be? And created thing is limited by its form, how much beauty it can manifest. And we also see that that beauty is, the thing on which it manifests is passing. So I see that, oh, my mother loves me a lot and loves me, and then she dies. And if I saw this compassion and mercy as her, well, now I have to see her death as she deprived me of that love. I have seen people mourn over their loved ones by grabbing their body and shaking them. A young woman was mourning her husband, or husband mourns their wife in this way, especially when they're very young, And they say, you cannot do this to me. I heard with my ears this kind of mourning. The person grabbing the other one's dead body, you cannot leave me. You cannot leave us. You cannot do this to me. Because there is a betrayal. What kind of love was this that it went? So any kind of quality that the text is claiming, again, I'm just simply trying to speak to myself with what Nursi is saying. He's saying is related to what he's getting from the verse, that the Creator says that there is grievous suffering for the ones who take this love to be praised for what they have not done. So we are in this, we are placing ourselves under this guidance now, so that we are clear that it's not for us, or not somebody has an idea, some philosophical idea. No, this is just, we are really begging our Maker to guide us. And in that spirit, I think Nursi is pointing our attention to saying what we should reflect on, what is the source of our suffering. Once we see that, experience beautiful things, why is it that that beauty doesn't take away suffering? In fact, the more beautiful a thing that you lose, the more you suffer. So because I see it as something I can lose, something that goes away, the more beautiful it thing, the more I'm actually afraid of appreciating it and really valuing it, because I feel as almost a defense mechanism to protect myself from suffering, to not to appreciate too much, not notice it too much, because, and that there's a certain group of people, I don't want to name names, but there's a certain idea out there many people follow, that desire is the source of suffering, and one should actively try to get rid of desire. There's a very popular idea throughout history, and many people, again, there is a logic to it once, but it is a mistake. It's not according to divine guidance, but not as I understand here. But if I don't follow divine guidance in what the Quran brings, or what Nursi is trying to tell me, that because I don't see the ground, the absolute ground upon which all these good qualities arise from, and therefore they will not fall away, they cannot go out of existence. Just because the things that manifest them pass away, these qualities from me as an observer do not pass away. But so let's talk the negative side. If they do pass away, then this is the evil that I cause to myself. So for example, when I say, I went to the graveyard and I buried my father, the person who can say it and say thinks that he buried his mother or father in the soil where they are dissolving, or their beloved wife or beloved child that they are now dissolving, the heart breaks and screams and says it cannot be. But I tell myself, no, accept reality, they are gone forever. And that suffering that I caused to my heart, that grievous suffering that I caused to my heart by thinking that this is the only interpretation, that this person, all that love and mercy that was manifest on this is all gone forever. And so this is the evil that I caused to myself, versus if I had seen and recognized that all those qualities that I find praiseworthy are absolute, are coming from an absolute, arising from absolute good, then my heart would, the only way for me to not cause myself suffering. So this I can do by not accepting, not recognizing the absolute good. So I didn't say anything different or anything even meaningful or additional to what the text is saying. Simply, I am just rolling my head over the word absolute, and I'm saying this is a very important word, because it is saying the good arising from absolute good versus good from my perspective arising from limited good, from the things themselves. And so what I cause evil, I am the cause of evil in not recognizing, not accepting this reality. So just I'm thinking about this, and would I'm trying to turn off my mic now, actually trying to find the button, sorry. Where is that window?
I can do it for you, don't worry.
So,
I mistakenly muted Zafar. Sorry, Zafar, could you turn on your mic again?
I am very offended.
I'm really sorry. Probably there's something unconscious going on.
Yeah, I can see. I asked the question because if my feeling is that unless we realize the scale of suffering we inflict upon ourselves, then we will not see this verse as being critical for us. Whereas if you understand that every day we are suffering, and that's the root cause of the unhappiness and the longing for happiness and never being able to get there, then I think we will take this text a lot more seriously. And as Farah said, I agree with what he said. We inflict a suffering on us by not accepting the good. Not just when things fade and then we lose them. Yes, we lose our mother or our beloved ones. There's goodness there, but we need to think about the potentiality. What is lost is we lose the potential to grow out of out of the experiences we have. I am a seed. I could have become a tree, and I wasted it. So, what is it that we don't accept? We don't accept the potential to get to know the source, the absolute source of everything. We lose the potential to gain, to become his property, and by way of that to earn the whole existence for eternity. Knowing this, I can't imagine the kind of pain we would feel at the end of our life that we could have made this message came to us and we didn't act on it. Like someone tells you, hey, here's the check, just cash it. It's a $10 million check. You'll get everything you need. Just cash it. But there's a deadline, okay? You need to take it today. And I don't believe him. And then I realize, oh, it was real. Why did I not believe him? So the one who made us put in us a feeling, a very strong feeling of avoiding loss and taking great pain from loss, especially when we had the will to avoid it, we had the opportunity to avoid it. Like he says, you're not in the first paragraph. I took a look at it, and it says, you can't be like them because you have will. So once we have will and once we are made aware and we don't act on it, the pain, the suffering will be so grievous we can't imagine if we don't act on this, because the message came to us and its explanation came to us. I thought that this passage is very critical. It's like life or death, but there is the potential that we might just say, oh, okay, he's talking about stuff not that important. I just wanted to add this. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you. I have one question. I'm not trying to open a discussion, but I sincerely have the question. So in the beginning of the paragraph, he says, yes, you in my body resemble nature in the world. Both of you were created to receive good and be the thing to which evil is referred. And then he ends the paragraph saying, that means one who worships himself and worships nature is extremely foolish and perpetrates a great wrong. I don't see why he's talking about the nature, what it is with the nature. I thought it was like a translation issue, but it's not. What he means with the nature or my soul, I guess when he says, yes, you in my body resemble nature, like my soul resembles nature. Then worshipping myself, worshipping nature.
Can it be like the idea of nature in the outside world and the idea of the self in the inside world are the same misconception? So in the outside world, I am attributing some existence or thinking that nature makes it, although there is no such existence, some external existence out there. I am assuming or imagining that there is a thing, a concept, an abstract concept, as was being taught, that is the agent, that is the doer. And in my personal life, I am thinking that I, my ego, myself, is the agent, the doer. But it is the same misconception. So if I have this understanding in my personal life, when it comes to the outside world, I become a naturalist, and I start thinking that nature does the things, or there is a nature of things, or a nature, a global nature out there, which is the doer of the actions. So it's vice versa. If in the outside world, if I'm a naturalist, when it comes back to myself, I become a person of egotism, saying that I am the one, I am the agent, I am the doer. So source of the misconception is the same.
I see. So I guess it's like going back to the fact that I experienced the success or achievement. It's there. I experienced the pleasure. It's there. And what I do, I combine these, and I, add myself in the equation, and I become the creator, the agent of the thing. Just living in the outside world, all these causes and effects, they are there. I see them, I cannot deny them, I experience them. What I do, I start making some imaginary links between them, or attributing them to the self or the person, as I call it, nature, as the nature. That's the same story, yes. So from the experience, we end up with attributing the experience to the wrong agent. Go ahead, please, Faraz.
Yeah, so thank you. So this is a very interesting sentence, you were created to receive good and be the thing to which evil is referred. Again, if I take a stance of I am important and I have value and I has to be affirmed as valuable or good with respect to some end, good is always some, so it's very demoralizing to read, is that to be the thing to which evil is referred? That's why God created me, to be the evil one. Why did he create evil? So I can start thinking about it in a way, just starting with the wrong orientation to thinking about it's talking about me. The whole thing has to be about me. But when I read it as a guidance about the nature of reality, I understand that the only way I could come to appreciate in this existence that I know, no counterfactual, this what I experience, because I can't imagine, I can't compare to something that I haven't experienced. So as I experience the things, and if I say this world's good lies in me coming to recognize my creator or the creator of this world or God, if that is the purpose of this world, and the I, in this framework that God guides us, that this is the purpose of creation, so that you come to believe in me, that is the purpose. And according to this purpose, it is wonderful, it is excellent for the I to be that to which the evil will be referred. So it is that thing that I would deny that quality to, I need that as a human being. I understand I need it, that the way the world exists, that's how I do things. I say this doesn't belong to this, and therefore it must belong to the one who owns this quality. So in this process, the world is, I want to say, perfect. The I is perfect in being imperfect in that way. It is perfect as that thing to which I will refer the evil, which is what? Which is not recognizing it from the absolute good, which is to say the I claims to be the owner of that quality, or the thing itself in nature, I say is the owner of that quality. And I will deny. So there is, it allows me to deny the I. When I question it, are you the owner of love? Are you the owner of wisdom? Just like I ask water, are you the possessor of knowledge and compassion? They easily say, no. My human being, the way I'm created, I can easily look to my eyes, say, are you? And the answer is no. And so it is, it is that thing to which evil is referred, so that I will deny that quality. It is created for that person, so that it manifests it, but as soon as I question it, it denies ownership of it. So this is the arrangement. It manifests it, it seems to have it, but so that's what I needed to understand the absolute. I can't directly understand the absolute. If I say God is love, God is the creator of love, and how will I know this in my heart with some certainty? I will know this because I will look to the mother and say, are you making your love for your child? And the mother will say, no. Oh, then I say, oh, you were there. So you were there, so I could deny you that you are the owner of love. You are that to which evil is referred. You are there to be denied as the owner of this love, so that I could see the real owner. So this is a very, I think, a very sound and to me, very satisfying account of why I exist in the way I do, why things are as they do, that through their limitedness, through their poverty, through I exist for that purpose. I exist in this form for that purpose. That's why I exist, so that to me the evil could be referred, which means so that I could be denied when I claim something to the owner, or when I appear to be the owner of equality, I can be denied that. It's an interesting sentence that, again, if I'm not thinking that this is for me to understand, to come to see that this arrangement as it has been created is perfect. The creator of this world, as I see it, as I experience it, with limited human beings, with this or that, to whom evil can be referred, who they claim to be. This arrangement is perfect for, or good for the end it serves. And if that end, Revelation says, is to be recognizing God. If my end is to come back to myself and find any value in me, then this sentence is devastating, not acceptable for this person. It's very bleak and very pessimistic. Or I'm there only for referring to evil. What is this? But so what, in my speculative mode, I can just not see the value in it. But as I am trying to understand the reality of existence, that it is not there by itself, and I am here for what purpose? And I come to, if I'm willing to go with revelation and say, no, you are here to come to know your absolute maker, your absolute source of goodness, then my being the way I am makes perfect sense as the one to which the evil is referred.
I guess this also makes sense when we use the evil, like in our previous discussions. It could be unfair to others, but in our previous discussions, I remember like people tend to define evil as non-existence. And then what Farah said is, when I see that, when I try to attribute the source of love, the love to the mother, and what I end up with is non-existence. It doesn't exist. So we don't have to take this evil as something, you know, when he says, you are the one, you are the thing to which evil is referred, it doesn't mean that you are doing something, you know, bad, or you are not doing something, you know, you're not supposed to do. By just being yourself, by just being without any capacity, just by having your weaknesses, you are the one which is evil is referred. Oh, Farhan, do you want to say something? Go ahead, please.
Yes, so thank you for the interesting comments. I think this is an area where I probably have some doubts and stuff, and I'd like to reflect on it. And so one of the issues I'm having with this connotation that, you know, so if we resemble nature, why would, I mean, we have this idea of the ability to make conscious choices, but nature doesn't have the option to do, to like sin per se. I mean, the sun, I don't observe any choices it's making. I mean, of course, it's submitting to God, but how can we refer evil to, let's say, the sun or the nature? So what does he mean when he says that we resemble in the sense that something to which evil is referred to? If anyone can comment. Thank you.
Oh, Farhan, do you mind turning on your mic? Turning off, sorry, not on.
Yes, of course.
I guess Yusuf wants to, no? Sorry.
So I guess this one, I mean, I'm still thinking, but from my perspective, so because the author is now trying to say, okay, then what is it good for? Why do I have the self, or why still we are talking about nature? And if it's not there doing anything, then what is it good for? Now he's saying that it's good for attributing evil to, meaning that there is going to be some sort of an evil in my perception at some point, and by attributing it to nature but not to the creator, it's going to have a use in there. Now I'm trying to think about it. So when do I do such stuff? So I don't know, this might be a wrong answer, correct me if I'm wrong, but let's say I'm not always being the person to see the good in things. And then let's say I am, as far as I was giving the example of, I buried my mother, and let's say she died because of cancer. And I am unhappy with it. And I'm not able to see the wisdom behind the death. And I am just, I don't like it. And because that I don't like it, I would like to just make objections. So right at the time that I'm not able to see the wisdom in there, to whom shall I object? So in such cases, generally what I do as a human, this is being a very utilitarian answer, but I am saying that she died because of cancer. And cancer took her away, as if. And now that cancer is a very local thing, I mean, it doesn't have a global knowledge, it doesn't have absolute knowledge, as Faraz was pointing to, because the beauty of death is going to come into the picture if I am seeing absolute wisdom in there. But since, especially at that point of time of death, I am very much concerned about me and my mother. That's it. I'm very much local, as if I am being drowned in a single point. At that point, I am saying that it's because of this cancer. So I am attributing this ugliness of death to the nature that I am seeing over there. So I guess this might, one way this is and of course, if this death was because of cancer, I would have the right to be the enemy of cancer, because cancer doesn't really doesn't carry any wisdom in there, and I'm against the death without any wisdom. So it's a truthful, objection actually. But the truth is, the death was not happening haphazardly or naturally, this or that. It was coming out of a wisdom and absolute wisdom that was considering before and after and everything. So this is why it would become absolute good. But since at the time I'm not able to see that, then the only thing I see is lack of wisdom. Then I'm attributing it to the cancer, because this is the evil part. And in another place, to the end of the same paragraph, it is going to say, although out of your incapacity, you have transformed good into evil. So this incapacity part, because cancer is an incapacitious cause. It doesn't carry the capacity to carry any wisdom in it. Lack of capacity is the problem of this nature in there. And I am becoming an enemy of this incapacitedness of the cancer, for example. So I guess this is how we practically attribute evil to the nature. But once I come to my senses, I say, wait a second, life was not haphazard, random, so not death is neither random. So it cannot be the cancer that took away my mother. So it must be the giver of life is the one that takes the life. Now I am starting to gather my senses. Then I starting to see the wisdom and beauty in the death itself. Then I say, no, death was not ugly anyways. I was mistaken. There is no evil actually. And there's pure goodness in death itself. But this time I'm not attributing it to the nature anymore, because nature was local, not global, not absolute. So I am not attributing the beauty to the absolute beauty.
There is no nature anymore, right? In this case, to attribute.
And there's no need for nature anymore as well. But there is need for nature when I am ignorant.
I guess it's interesting because the sentence you read, out of your incapacity, you have transformed good into evil. So he's not saying that, that the God, or let's say it's supposed to, a good thing was supposed to happen, but because of you, the evil thing happened. It doesn't say that. He says there is something good out there, but because you don't have the capacity to see it, to acknowledge it, you see it as an evil. And when this happens, when we take things as evil, your example, when cancer kills my mother, when cancer kills my mother, I see it as something evil. Because out of wisdom, it's out of the order, right? It was not expected. What is the cancer? Where did it come from? She was so healthy, like 10 minutes ago. 2 years ago, we were playing together. She was full of life. But this cancer came and took her. So when I take it from this perspective, when I interpret it from this perspective, my own perspective, right, it becomes evil. I take the good, turn it into evil. So it happens when I attribute things to, he says nature, as an abstract term, I guess, but when I attribute that to cancer. So attributing things to nature equals to from my perspective, taking it is as evil. So I guess there is like inevitable link between evil and attributing things to nature. When I see evil when I attribute things to nature. When I realize that the death itself, the way she dies, the way I feel, the way I mourn, the mourning, yes, the way I mourn, the fact that I don't like the death, all together, it's a beautiful creation. When I start this, when I start understanding this, when I start attributing the mourning inside me to the Creator, the sadness inside me to the Creator, He gave me this sadness. That means He doesn't want me to see my mother as non-existent. He doesn't want me to see it that way. Right? He doesn't want me separate from my mother. When I take it that way, when I see it that way, so I see, okay, it's the absolute good. And somebody is, oh, Faraz. You finish, Yusuf, sorry.
And in this way, as now tying back to what Faraz was giving with the example of asking to the mother if you are the source of love. Now, when I see that the cancer, I am feeling very negative about cancer killing my mother, I start questioning, saying that there is something wrong with that. As a human, I cannot accept this. And when this feeling of disturbance is now kicking in, which makes me question, was it really cancer? How come? If this is the life, and if I am saying that I'm very much troubled about this to you, and you say to me, well, Yusuf, this is life, you have to accept it, I would say, no, I mean, just the words doesn't work. If you just tell me saying that, Yusuf, you have to accept this is life, cancer comes and takes away the beloved ones. If it was that easy, I would just take your word and continue living my life. But this is not how it works. So this aspect of this now makes me question. It cannot be as such. Then I keep questioning and then find the absolute beauty in there. This is why it has a utility in my finding of the absolute beauty. And this aspect of nature being attributed evil has a utility in me finding the Creator, or the absolute good.
Oh, go ahead, please. I'm turning off the microphone.
So just to make it also maybe more practical and relatable, the same idea about being the veil, he uses the word veil, the human beings being a veil. We've talked about nature, so human beings are being a veil, which is to say that, for example, I encounter someone who is unjust, who is rude, who is unkind. So that's my experience of them. When I see they are doing something bad, not good, they are doing something ugly, they are doing something. If when somebody's behavior displays those qualities that are disagreeable to me, I can look at that and I can simultaneously say, this person is rude, and I can simultaneously say, the creator of this person is kind. So when I look at the ugliness and the rudeness, I can attribute to that person, because that person is being a veil. That veil could either manifest or block. So when that veil blocks the kindness, doesn't show that kindness of the Creator, then I can legitimately, for example, not like rudeness. I can, let's say, prefer not to speak to this person, or I may choose to turn away from them or try to stop them if they are doing something very wrong, hurting someone for no reason or something. So all the so-called or apparent sort of injustice that I see in the world are actually occasions and opportunities for the manifestation of names that happens, and simultaneously from the perspective of the person who is unkind, I can attribute that to them. You are being this way. You are choosing to be, for example, be unkind. But again, in that unkindness, again, that cannot be the end of the matter, because in that unkindness, I will go on and say, oh, how come that I find this unkind? Whose name is manifest here? And again, I will have the option to return back to the source and recognize God there, because that's ultimately the point. And that this is so, I guess, so far from our practical reality that it's difficult to relate to it, but I can actually act in the name of God. And I can actually try to act in the name of God, for example. But there's always, and opens another subject, that human beings always act, but cannot, as limited beings, know that they have in fact acted. They may intend, but they cannot be sure that in reality they acted. So even if I, for example, say in the name of God, I'm going to be angry to an unjust person. He's a person who's beating up a child for no reason, and I'm going to be angry in God's name. Once I had and stop him and maybe, let's say, hit him or tie his hands or report him to the police. And I didn't do it simply as a worldly action, but I wanted to do it to recognize God. Even in that action, because I cannot claim with certainty that it was in fact done, my ultimate position would still be to ask for forgiveness for any for anything of my own that entered into that anger for that person or disapproval of that person. So, but that's a different subject of the reality of human being between fear and hope, that the cannot never be ultimately certain. But insofar as at a given moment, one can make sense of the apparently, that human beings, we can attribute to them the apparently ugly. For example, somebody is being rude and unkind or unjust. One can say that you are being unjust in this way. And so in that sense, it can be attributed to them. And through that attribution, I can come to recognize actually the mercy and compassion of the creator of that unkind person, if that makes any sense.
So you're saying that to understand the source of light, the absolute light, we need gradations of light, and the darker the manifestation of light, darker manifestations of light allows us to understand that. And in the case of human beings, we have free will, so it's like we choose what kind of gradation of light we would like to manifest. And even though we can choose to not manifest too much light, it's even that leads to for us to understand the source of light. I think that was a good point. Thank you.
Oh, Farhan, go ahead, please. Then we can conclude.
Can I just say some? So, I think, I mean, I don't mean to be political here, but I think maybe just to make it a little bit more concrete, perhaps we can talk about the US president right now and the use of his terminology, and then to see if we are comfortable with the analogies we're drawing based on an actual case on that. So just today, for example, this morning, there was a news item that he has called certain countries certain names. And so how would we apply it to that case? So are we going to say that the president, so I mean, I like if Brother Faraz could just say a few words on perhaps in terms of that analogy. And just another thing I want to mention is there are three distinct things in my mind. One is establishing facts, like, for example, Trump said X, Y, Z. The other thing is ascribing meaning to that, whether we think that's good or bad in a holistic sense. And then the third thing is the causality part of it, of who do we think this is coming from. And, so sometimes the discussions, we need to be, even if the person, let's say, if Trump is responsible for his stuff, and it's not God, let's say, if for some reason we say that we cannot attribute it to God, but it's just to him, we can still talk about whether or not that is a good or bad thing, irrespective of the causal argument. So if you can just comment a little bit on that, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Before anyone start commenting, we have around 5 minutes. So please just keep this in mind, and we can conclude the discussion after your final comments. So if anyone wants to comment, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to say it very short form because of lack of time. So perception of a lack it points to and affirms that which is affirmed to be lacking. Now, I understand it's a very general statement, but the fact that I can listen to a statement and perceive or feel or experience that it lacks X, where X is anything good. It lacks sensitivity, it lacks compassion, it lacks context, it lacks knowledge, it lacks intelligence, it lacks etc., etc. That perception of lack is only possible and explainable and explicable if I posit prior existence of the quality that which I see lacking. I cannot experience or explain that a perception of a lack of compassion without drawing on compassion, without basing that feeling on the prior existence of compassion. So certainly I think Brother Farhan is right to say that every event has two possibilities of interpretation. One, it looks to itself, and the other, and in the good, what will it mean to be good or bad will be different depending on that. To the end that one can use anything that displays a lack. For example, Trump displays lack of a lot of things. To the extent that any lack can lead us to affirm and recognize who God is in that event, yes, that's possible. Is it possible that the one I come to recognize, for example, as compassionate, can I then act in the name of this compassion to, for example, criticize Trump or challenge him on a certain position? Not to, say that you are an essentially evil person, but what you said lacks this, what you did this, it means. So yes, I can do that. Can I act joyfully, take joy in that action, in acting in the name of this compassionate one? Yes, it's possible. And so that's why we'll just comment here and stop here. It's an example, really. Trump is not of interest to me personally, but I think Farhan also mentioned it as an example. So one can generalize to other examples. Wherever we see lack, how do we get from that lack to how do we even explain the perception, the possibility of perceiving that lack without positing the abundant, the existence of that the abundance of that quality.
Jazakallah khairan, everyone. I guess we should conclude now. But for next week, because please let's be careful with what we say. Now I have to cut these strong parts from the recordings, replace them with Yusuf. As if you were saying Yusuf lacking something, well, I have to do it. So anyway, let's conclude, inshallah, for this week. If there are no other pressing questions or comments, because we are out of time, I guess. Sorry for my lack of time management. So, yes, I'm willing to conclude. Okay, I guess nobody's...
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. آخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.